For example, Dr. Hussam had presented an amazing talk. How can we convert this to national policy? And I'm about to talk.
أخت ندى بليز اعملي سلايد شير من عندك.
Sure.
السلام عليكم. استاذ ندى.
اي تفضل.
ايوه خلاص اوكي
تمام. لأن
ايوه
شفت
تمام.
بعض الأصدقاء يقولوا إنه الصوت ضعيف.
لا الصوت كويس جدا. اتفضلي حضرتك.
اوكي بحاول اخلص قبل الوقت عشان بس نلحق صلاة المغرب. My talk is about just culture and accountability in healthcare settings. So as you heard the previous speaker, Dr. Hussam, mentioned just culture a couple of times. You know, September, in particular 17 September, we celebrated the World Patient Safety Day. وكان الثيم under healthcare worker safety. Sorry, priority for patient safety. The slogan was safe health workers, safe patient. وال WHO called for speak up for healthcare workers. طبعا I don't know if this is public knowledge, لكن يعني بكل فخر السعودي Center of Patient Safety had worked with the WHO and influence to introduce World Patient Safety Day. إيش علاقة ال just culture and accountability بالثيم حق ال patient safety under the theme of healthcare worker safety. Just culture mainly protects the psychological safety of the healthcare workers, and what is really the link of the psychological safety to patient safety. This is what we will learn today, and how can we make that link actually work. This is a screenshot من الويب سايت حق منظمة الصحة العالمية. They mention إنه no one should be harmed in health care, yet we have 134 million adverse events occur each year due to unsafe care in hospital, and 15% of hospital expenses can be attributed to treating patient safety failures. وإنه 4 out of 10 patients are harmed in primary and ambulatory settings. وإنه تقريباً 80% can be avoided. طبعاً منظمة الصحة العالمية دائماً تذكرنا بالharm associated with healthcare. Diluted بالlower income countries, لكن unfortunately على مستوى الوطن العربي ما عندنا كثير قراءات دقيقة عن حجم الضرر عندنا في المستشفيات، لكن احنا نقدر نقيس يعني we measure against North America, let's say for example. If you know Dr. Lucian Leib, يعني he is one of gurus that actually help in the advancement of patient safety. He once mentioned the single greatest impediment to error prevention in medical industry is that we punish people for making mistakes. وحابة نوقف شوية هنا to reflect. Either you have been a victim of medical error where you were punished for a mistake that happened unintentional, or you witnessed that somebody was harmed by the wrong management when they were associated with medical error. So should we not punish healthcare workers, or should we punish them? That has been always the question here. We will answer it إن شاء الله خلال السلايدات الجاية. Most of healthcare workers, they hide the pain of their mistakes with silence. So instead of admitting their mistakes and discussing it openly with others, no, they choose to say, no, we'll keep silence, أنا ما راح أتكلم. خلاص. عدم الإفصاح عن الأخطاء الطبية ليس فقط يؤثر على الرعاية الصحية بصفة عامة، لكن له آثار جانبية نفسية على الممارس الصحي نفسه. هناك كثير من الأبحاث التي نشرت ربطت ربطت بين الممارس الصحي والأخطاء الطبية من ناحية الضرر النفسي، القلق، الاكتئاب، الانسحاب، الشك في النفس. بعضهم أيضاً they committed suicide، وفي كثير قصص للأسف عن competent healthcare workers but because of the wrong way that we dealt with them they end up killing themselves. Creating a safe space, psychological safety of healthcare workers هذا theme for the Canadian Patient Safety Institute. أنا أعتبرهم من أكثر الانستيتيوت يعني activity من ناحية promoting the patient safety. This is their logging. يعني they want us to create a safe space, mainly on psychological safety. What do we mean by psychological safety? Psychological safety, it means that أنا كhealthcare provider, I feel safe to voice out my concern. أنا أثق بالنظام الصحي وأثق إنه راح يتعامل معي بطريقة عادلة. في الزملاء اللي يشتغلون بالpatient safety definitely they're familiar مع الhospital patient safety culture survey managers as well. يعني one of the widely used survey that measures the perception of patient safety. أنت كممارس، أنت كمدير أو قائد فريق، لما تفكر تحسن من سلامة المرضى، نقطة البداية إنه أنت تقيس الثقافة، أنت تقيس الكالتشر من ناحية سلامة المرضى. الهوسبيتال survey on patient safety does this for you. زي ما أنتم شايفين يعني on the slide we have 12 composites that were built on evidence-based research and be refined a couple of times on how they measure the positive response on patient safety. The last composite اللي هو non-punitive response to error measures how the healthcare workers perceive the culture in the organization. Is it punitive? Is it blame? أغلب يعني الresult showed that up to 60 to 70% of the healthcare workers يشوفوا إنه الculture بالhealthcare punitive. Can you please mute? Can we all mute? إيش علاقة الperception of blame to patient safety؟ إحنا اليوم في conference هدفنا إنه create more patient safety atmosphere. Let me do with you a quick exercise. What you can see in front of you is a study that was published where the researchers have actually categorized industries and activity into 3 categories. One that is considered dangerous, one that is considered regulated, and one that is considered ultra safe. The ones that is considered dangerous, قالوا إنه the probability of losing one life as in those activities, example mountain climbing or bungee jumping. Regulated in average for every 10,000 encounter you lose 1 life. زي driving, chartered flights والchemical manufacturing. الالترا سيف اندستري طبعا زي الافيشن، احنا عارفين how safe الافيشن is. The probability is less than 1 per 100k. طبعا السؤال اللي احنا دائما نسال نفسنا الهيلث كير. Where do you think healthcare actually fit? Do you think healthcare is dangerous, or do you think it's regulated as safe as driving, or do you think it is ultra safe as aviation? طبعاً, unfortunately, as per published studies and as per this study, healthcare is considered dangerous. We are less safe than driving. What does that mean to us? In a recent, not so recent, but was published in 2016, causes of death from preventable harm was considered the third leading cause of death in the US, where around 251,000 Americans died unnecessarily from preventable harm. So death from preventable harm is considered the third leading cause of death. What can we do? Can we accept those numbers? Now we know we're not as safe as we think we are. Now we know that 250,000, at least in the US, die unnecessarily. أنتم, you can imagine طبعا لكم أن تتخيلوا كم الأرقام عندنا بالوطن العربي. This should increase our situational awareness. Should we accept this? No, we should not accept this. We should acknowledge it. So what can we do? We need to improve the patient safety. Dr. Hissam قال الحلم zero harm. Some healthcare systems have actually achieved zero harm. So it's achievable. The aviation industry achieved work toward becoming high reliable organization. King Faisal, where I work, we are on the second year of our journey to zero harm, and we managed to reduce a lot of harm. So it's a journey that required effort. It can happen. The first thing that we need to do is improve safety culture. James Reardon is one of the pioneer on helping us understand how error happens. And he mentioned that if you want to improve safety culture, you need to improve 5 subcultures. He mentioned إنه لازم يكون عندك informed culture. يعني أنت when you hire people, hire for fit. They are aware, and if they're not, you need to train them. So humans that are working in the organization need to have the knowledge, skills to perform the task. He mentioned that you need to have reporting culture. Reporting culture here, an organizational climate in which people are prepared to report their errors and near miss. For us to improve patient safety and reduce preventable harm, we need to understand how this harm happened. And if we don't have volunteers to tell us how error happens and give us the opportunity to examine them, study them, conduct root cause analysis, and then fix the system, then we cannot improve patient safety. To have a good reporting culture, we need to have a just culture. Just culture is an atmosphere of trust in which people are encouraged and even rewarded for providing essential safety-related information. And this is what we are talking about. So the link for just culture is ultimately prevent harm on the patient and prevent harm on the second victim. The second victim هو مصطلح يطلق على الممارس الصحي اللي تسبب بالأذى للمريض، لأنه هو فعلا الضحية الثانية. نحتاج يكون عندنا learning culture. صار عندنا reporting culture. People feel safe to speak. إذا إحنا ما نتعلم منها, we build resilience and redesign the system based on what we learn, then also we cannot achieve safety culture. The last component is flexible culture, وهي الculture where organization يكون عندها resilience to bounce back. هو طبعا كثير دكتور حسام touch based on how to increase resiliency in indirect way. يعني لما نتكلم عن المودلز of management and how to have different plans, how some of the countries dealt very well with COVID and others didn't. This is the flexibility culture, where if I'm in a crisis, I know how to bounce back and recover quickly. طبعا this is just to share with you if you are interested. This is just example on the patient safety culture survey. These are the question on the left, and the component are on the right. Now, let's say that a nurse loses custody of yet unlabeled specimen, but chooses not to report the incident out of fear of discipline. كيف نتعامل مع الهيلث كير بروفايدر اللي يخبي الخطأ؟ How can we deal with them? نسامحهم بس لأنهم كانوا خايفين؟ إذا عندك أنت الفريق الجراحي بكامله skipped the pre-surgical time out and then they justify إنه والله المريض ما صار له شيء. What do you do with them? Do you condone them? And many questions. صار حريق في مستشفى. Do you fire the hospital director? In just culture, we don't focus on individual. We balance accountability between individual and systems. Having a just culture is also regulatory requirement by Joint Commission and even by Sibahi. So improving safety culture, we need to stop blaming healthcare providers. Now we spoke if you heard the IOM report on To Err is a Human that was released almost 30 years ago, that was the first time actually harm was projected in numbers. And we learned at the time that it's between 44,000 to 98,000 deaths annually happens in the US. From 1999 until now, harm still exists in healthcare. طب how come يعني ما تعلمنا? How come we didn't fix it? One of the يعني prominent biases that we suffer from in healthcare industry is outcome bias. بعض مشاكلنا احنا انه لما يصير عندنا error اذا ما وصل للمريض وتسبب بأذى we don't really do much. وإذا تسبب بأذى نركز على الممارس الصحي، نفصله، ننقله، نعطيه warning. This is our problem here. We don't focus so much on the process itself, understanding what went wrong and how it went wrong and fix it. And this is the essence of just culture. Just culture, we ask what went wrong, مش who did what. So what is really the purpose of the just culture? Just culture is a mental framework. It has its own principles and a tool. The tool is called the Just Culture algorithm. I'll go over it quickly for the time's sake. So why should you consider implementing Just Culture in your place? It creates a culture that truly supports learning, justice, and accountability to provide the safest possible environment for patients. As per evidence, if you implement Just Culture, you increase your reliability by 98%. Develop a common understanding about how to treat staff when error happens depends on their behavioral choices. If you were a manager and you had to deal with a healthcare provider that was part of medical error, you must have went through some emotional burden. طب أنا يعني كيف حتعامل معه? Should I punish? Should I not punish? Just culture will help you make that kind of decision. It is strive for culture that balances the need for non-punitive learning environment with equally important need to hold persons accountable for their outcomes. So we want to go away from blame, individual focus culture to balancing accountability. And so how this happened? The Just Culture framework and tool will help you to create a system that increase learning, but at the same time, you're holding people accountable. How would you hold them accountable? This is the Just Culture merit. It helps you seek to judge the behavior, not the outcome. And that's the mind shift that we need to think of. any error that happens, it has a preceding causes for it. If a nurse forget to give a medication, forgetting is not the root cause of the omission of care. If the physician forget to order labs, that is not the root cause. Why did the physician forget? This is the system thinking, and this is how we need to focus on. Just culture shift us from focusing on judging the outcome, but judging the behavior, why it happened, and what can we do. One of the things that you learn when you adopt the just culture is that error sometimes happen due to human error, risk behavior, and reckless behavior as a behavioral choices. Support and implement systems that enable safe behaviors to prevent harm, and work to share information across organizations to promote continuous improvement. So to implement the just culture, you need to have 4 principles accepted by your mind. First, to err is a human. You need to acknowledge that people that are working in healthcare industries are human by nature and they will make mistakes. إحنا بشر والبشر خطاء. Does that mean we accept it? لا. We don't accept it. We need to do something about it. What to do, how to do it, this is what the just culture teaches us. So 15% من الأخطاء الطبية due to human error. لكن نتذكر إنه الهيومن error ما هو الروت كوز. لكن ليش الشخص نسى؟ ليش الشخص عمل wrong judgment? This is what we need to focus on. To drift is a human. Drifting is part of us being a human. يعني إيش we drift؟ يعني هذه one of the principles in human behaviors that we need to acknowledge. Should we accept? لا. We need to do something about it. أنا لما يكون لي 15 سنة أو 20 سنة surgeon، الروتين العادي التايم اوت يمكن أشوفه waste of time. I've been doing this for the last 20 years. Why should I do it now? خلاص أنا حافظه. Why أروح أعمله? Understanding that there are part of healthcare workers because they're human, they will drift is important for just culture. We need to acknowledge that risk everywhere. The healthcare industry is considered dangerous, and we need to acknowledge every single risk in the organization, be prepared for it, mitigate it as we go. And we are all accountable. When a paramedic causes harm to patient because the patient wasn't monitored well, at the ambulance 20 kilos away from the hospital, it's not only him that's accountable, it's him and the whole system he works in. How that happens and what does accountability means is focusing on the choices and designing a system in the healthcare setting that decrease the likelihood that I make the wrong choices. So when we say just culture holding people accountable, it means they are accountable for their performance, and it should be consistent with their role and the organizational value. They are accountable to act in ways that avoid harm to patient. There is no justification for harming patient based on the choices. Of course, طبعاً في exception, يعني emergency is an emergency. Respectful behavior, they're accountable for that. To report critical event and good catches so that the organization learn from it. They are accountable to say, I need clarity to stop any potentially unsafe act. لما يكون عندي junior resident and he is not aware of a medication that he was requested to prescribe, he need to stop the line and said, I need clarity. That's their accountability. Okay? waiting to happen. We're accountable in healthcare to bring the attention of the decision makers and policy makers to the risk associated with the healthcare. We're accountable to know what resources we have to help us with our work. So Anna, if I have a task in front of me, I'm accountable to be competent. And if I'm not, or I'm not aware of the policy, I need to seek it out. There is no excuse for not having the skills and knowledge to perform the job. My manager is accountable for ensuring that I know about this policy. My CEO is accountable for creating a policy that will help standardize the process. They are accountable to identify gaps in the policies and procedures that don't help. I worked in patient safety since 2011. And there are a lot of preventable harm happen because some of healthcare workers decided not to follow the policy or the guideline because it wasn't working for them. And instead of telling the policymakers that you guys, this policy is not working for us, they decided just to ignore it. How do you deal with those people? Just culture will tell you how to deal with them. Healthcare workers are accountable to participate fully when critical event happens to learn what went wrong and how to prevent them in the future. إذا أنا عندي sentinel event أو عندي serious safety event أو عندي حتى near miss وطلبت feedback من my surgeon, they're accountable to dedicate time and help us investigate. And last, we're accountable to contribute on redesigning the system in a way that is a lot safer. We have to accept that يعني healthcare industry changed. يعني الآن ما هو as simply as you going to your clinic, treating your patient and going home. No, it's more than that. لأنه الآن healthcare industry is complex. You would have to be part of reporting incident. You will have to be part of performance improvement project. You have to be part of conducting research that help us improve the practice. These are expectations in the modern medicine. The basis of the just culture is on 3 behaviors. So human error is a behavior that inadvertent action. It happens because I'm a human. I forget to give the medication because of memory lapse. Instead of grabbing a certain equipment, I grab the wrong one. That is slip because a human. And instead of diagnosing the patient with appendicitis, I diagnosed him with GI. That's mistake, that's judgment call. So these 3 types of medical errors are attributed to human error. If I go and I tell the ER physician, please يعني مرة ثانية, be careful وشخص المريض مظبوط. Did I fix the problem? Definitely not. لما أروح أقول للممرضة مرة ثانية تذكري إنك تعطي الدواء. أو لما أقول للكلينيك انجينيرينج مرة ثانية تذكر إنك تأخذ the right equipment. You can never fix it. But what you can do is study why the environment made it a choice for them to slip lapse and make mistake. The second behavior in just culture is at-risk behavior. These are type of behavior that behavioral choices that increase the risk where the risk is not recognized or is mistakenly believed to be justified. وهذول الناس اللي will drift. يعني أنا competent زي الإكزامبل اللي قبل شوي competent nurse حاعطي high alert medication ما احتاج أحد يعمل معايا double checking because I'm competent, I know. Okay, so these kind of people, they increase a risk where there should not be risk. Reckless behaviors, intention is to violate أنا I know في guideline الجايدلاين يقول لازم أعمل 1 2 3 but أنا I don't believe in this guideline. I want to do it A B C. Incident صارت مثلا a surgeon decided not to put the patient على anticoagulation therapy because that surgeon did not believe in the anticoagulation therapy protocol. Patient end up dead. Allah يرحمه. So humans will make mistakes, humans will drift, some human unfortunately will gamble with others' life. احنا عندنا 3 duty بالهيلث كير. عندنا duty أنا لما أجي الشغل عندي duty to avoid causing unjustifiable risk or harm، وعندي duty to produce an outcome، يعني أنا لازم أخرج المريض within the predictable discharge day، right؟ وعندي duty to follow procedural rule، يعني أنا البوليسي تبع المستشفى تقول إنه أنا أعمل reconciliation للميديكيشن لما البيشنت يدخل. أغلب الميديكال ايرورز تصير because of failure to one of those or sometimes all of the 3 of duties. أنا I cause unjustifiable harm وإن patient صار عنده increase the length of stay وأنا did not follow the hospital policy. So هذول 3 duties are also what the just culture algorithm is based on. So in just culture, you judge. طبعاً just culture is usually a workshop that is taught in يعني minimum 2 days for good understanding. We judge the human error, what to do with the human error. We console the healthcare workers. What to do with at-risk behavior. We coach them and we fix the system. A reckless behavior, you consider punish them and also you fix the system. ناخذ quickly example عندنا باقي almost 5 minutes on applying in 3 behaviors on driving. So أنا لما أقطع الإشارة الحمراء لأنه كنت سرحان
أستاذة ندى الصوت مش واضح. أستاذة ندى في مشكلة؟
في صوت.
معلش احنا في انتظار الأستاذة ندى عقبال ما نخش تاني على الزوم.
Hello, am I online again?
Yes.
I'm so
الصوت
sorry.
أيوه
It's part of the technology that we should always, you know, be aware of. أنا أعتذر بس I'm wrapping up يعني. So a process improvement for people crossing the stop sign, and we need to use the same يعني strategies for medical errors. People need to go on driving school to ensure that they understand why they need to adhere to those. البلينكينج يعني شايفين انتم بعض الاشارات it blinks before it turns red and vice versa. المطبات اللي تخفف هذه كلها process improvement لأي error that is because of human error. لأنه بس نقول لهم تذكروا يعني ما تنسوا, it will not fix the problem. at risk behavior مثلا speeding in a car causing unjustifiable risk, لكن تسأله ليش أنت يعني تسوق بسرعة, يقول والله الطريق فاضي وأنا متأكد إنه I will not harm anybody. You coach them on making the right choices. You increase the situational awareness. يعني for example شايفين أنتم بعض العروض من insurance companies where you get discount if you don't commit any accident. This is increasing incentives. With those people that are risk takers, usually good, highly performing healthcare workers, you just need to increase their situational awareness, to increase incentives to try to anchor them to following the hospital policy. reckless behavior مثلا driving intoxicated, طبعا ما في أي justification و reason is يعني ما في أي سبب مقبول, ف these kind of people you punish them زي النقاط السوداء. ال just culture algorithm هو is the analytical heart of just culture. هو ال primary tool that you use. It's copyrighted وما في soft copy, لكن it measures the unjustifiable risk, failure to produce outcome, failure to follow certain rules. You ask few questions, based عليه you determine what is the right course of action. طبعا just culture focus on individual وفocus على السيستم. طبعا humans, if you have a staff that keeps forgetting, keeps making mistakes, keeps causing يعني harm because of human error, just culture will teach you how to deal with this. Repetitive human errors يعني we cannot accept إلى الأبد يعني. You might end up حتى firing someone if you fix the system but they keep doing the same mistakes. Same for repetitive at-risk behavior. So إيش تسوي إذا أنت عندك highly performing person but every time they're risk takers, مرة high alert, مرة not following blood transfusion, يعني you know things like that. The just culture will help you to do this. So the just culture help you how to deal with people causing harm, how to deal with people failing to produce rule, how to deal with people failing to produce an outcome, repetitive human error, repetitive at-risk behavior. The just culture algorithm will help you determine the correct response to individual employees who do not perform as expected. It is designed to evaluate behaviors and investigate breaches of duty. While using the algorithm, additional behavior may be discovered that required investigation. When two or more behaviors are associated with a single event, you evaluate each one of them separately. At other times يعني في overlapping duties and responsibility may come into account. So designating paths will guide managers through those investigations. And I believe the just culture is mainly for managers to help them how to deal and help us in healthcare industry how to redesign it in a way a lot safer. In conclusion, David Marks, which is the father of the just culture, he said that just culture is the middle ground between a highly punitive system and a system where no one is accountable. It's a blame-free system of justice and how to balance the act between blame-free and accountability. Thank you so much for your great attention, and apology once again for the technical error that happened. Just culture is a huge topic, and one of the new concepts that was brought to healthcare industry from law and regulation industry, but it's proven to increase our reliability. Thank you very much. And